Hello everybody, and welcome to Ancient Architects. Please subscribe now to get the latest ancient history news and independent research from around the world. After his fantastic work reconstructing the inner sanctum of the Great Sphinx of Egypt, I asked the fantastic 3D artist and ancient history enthusiast Kevin Eslinger of the Eslinger Art channel if he thought he could add a roof to the main enclosure of Karahan Tepe, a site in southeastern Anatolia that's dated to around 11,500 years ago. I have long believed that the large central pillars and the pillars around the perimeter were there primarily to support a roof. Yes, they are carved with intricate designs, but I think that this decoration is secondary. I think the primary function of these pillars was architectural. I had already seen some artists' impressions for how the roof could have looked on top of the enclosure, and to me it does make complete sense it was covered, and so I sent these pictures to Kevin for inspiration. But it's Kevin who has now inspired me because his work to reconstruct the framework of the roof structure is just incredible. It's like the building now looks more complete. I do think that this kind of work is now so important because it can help us to understand these truly ancient and mysterious sites in southeastern Anatolia. Kevin has a very detailed and logical approach to his work, so in this video, a first of two parts, I want to show you his work in progress, to share his and my thoughts and observations, and also give you the chance to comment and share yours as well. I won't give you a full background to Karahan Tepe right now. I already have a number of videos you can watch at your leisure, and I've linked them all in the description below. But in a nutshell, Karahan Tepe is believed to be roughly 11,500 years old, give or take 100 years or so. It's one of the pre-pottery Neolithic Tashtapela sites of southeastern Anatolia, a sister site to the famous UNESCO World Heritage Site of Göbekli Tepe. New discoveries are being made every year, because each year new excavations are taking place. This incredible statue was only found a few weeks ago inside a newly excavated enclosure. Only about 5 to 10% of Karahan Tepe has been excavated, so what we see today is really just a very small part of what is a huge archaeological complex that straddles an ancient valley. I imagine that this site will still be excavated long after I'm dead and gone, and we'll probably never fully understand it for generations, if at all. But also that's what makes it so exciting. Everything is brand new to us. It's a truly ancient site and it lets our imaginations run wild. The area excavated so far has three main enclosures, labelled as AA, AB and AD by archaeologists. They're situated on a hillside close to the top. These three, although surrounded by even more enclosures, are singled out because of how they interconnect, and also because just how unique they are. Enclosure AA looks like a carved out shallow water pool, with associated channels that flow into it from above, and then it has another channel that flows out to the adjacent and very bizarre looking pillared enclosure AB, which has a window into the enormous enclosure AD. It's my belief that enclosures AA and AB were both associated with water, but the larger enclosure AD is up for question. Was this enclosure filled up with water or was it dry? It was almost certainly a special purpose communal building, whether a meeting place, a ritual site, a feasting spot or even a bathhouse. Regarding its function, at this time we can only speculate. But because of the size of the structure, it was almost certainly a place where people came together. It has two enormous and now fallen central pillars, and the perimeter of the structure is surrounded by now broken pillars of stone and bedrock. The floor of the enclosure is said to be bedrock, but I suspect that it's actually lined with terrazzo, a composite material that's poured in place like concrete, and then left to set. And this isn't some out there idea, because archaeologists have confirmed that terrazzo was used at other sites, including Göbekli Tepe, Navali Chori and Chayanu. 10 to 12,000 years ago, we now know for a fact that the pre-pottery Neolithic people were using terrazzo to line enclosures. The focus for this video is Enclosure AD, and I think that the two large and now fallen central pillars and the smaller perimeter pillars were surely there to hold up the roof. Of course, that is just my opinion, but it is shared by many experts and it does seem logical. So now we go to Kevin's work, and once again I'm blown away. What he did first of all was replace the now fallen and crumbled pillars, so we now have a feel for how the structure would have been arranged, to help us visualise it a lot better. Structurally, this is really all we know for sure about the site, that it had two large central pillars and smaller pillars around the perimeter. But I wanted Kevin to try and add wooden roof beams to connect the central pillars and the perimeter pillars, and well, see how it looked. How he would do this, I of course had no idea. The roof structure would have most likely been made of wood, but the type of wood available in southeastern Anatolia at this time is still something I need to research. Now, I knew Kevin was a great designer, but I didn't expect just how incredible the structure would look. It looks amazing. And on doing this fine work, Kevin also made a very astute discovery. On the eastern side of the enclosure, when you follow the length of the wooden posts to the place where they terminate in the ground, they align with the outer oval banks that surround the enclosure. It looks like the banks were created to support the wooden posts. Of course, this structure is around 11,500 years old, and we don't see this with all of the posts, but the fact we see this alignment says to me we are on the right track, that in places the roof went entirely to the ground, and what Kevin has discovered is a possible interpretation for a feature of the enclosure. A construction technique of the pre-pottery Neolithic people. Now, as Kevin points out, when the posts make the connection to the pillars on the perimeter, there is a gap that needs to be filled. He again makes a logical assumption that these gaps were filled with more wooden posts, arranged like this, and these make the roof of the enclosure more structurally sound. The roof is extremely level, and the addition of the posts going all the way round ties the entire roof structure together. The position of the perimeter stone pillars are quite regular, and so, as you can see, the wooden posts on both sides of the structure form these somewhat regular triangles. But by doing the reconstruction, we can also see there is a post missing, and it should be positioned in front of the pillared enclosure. Instead, we have the remains of two smaller pillars, which I once speculated formed a hearth or fireplace. Now, whether this is right or wrong is open to debate, but I do think these two smaller pillars did form a structure of some kind, and it relates to the opening into the pillared enclosure AB. Kevin created this, which is a fair assumption and a good placeholder for now, and as you can see, the post rests on top. The orientation of the posts actually tells us how tall this structure would have been. There looks to have definitely been some kind of structure in this position, because without it this post is unsupported. Of course, this post doesn't have to be there, but without it the whole roof structure loses its regularity. Of course, you can easily argue that it was meant to be that way, but the fact we have the remains of two small pillars in this location says to me there is more going on, and that there was a structure of some kind. The remains of a structure in this location have now weathered and eroded away, although the bottom of the small left-hand pillar does look to be curved, giving us an indication of what could be missing. So now we have a skeleton structure of the roof, and, as stated, we can see that the posts form regular triangles, well apart from the middle third, where we have two large and opposing rectangular sections. Kevin does this, with two further poles meeting in the centre of the crossbeam, and you could also do the same on the other side. But this triangle looks bigger than the rest, which again could be by design, but Kevin speculates that this could have been the entrance, and so he adds more posts to the structure and it ends up looking like this. I would personally take it off, and I think he now agrees as well. In my opinion, the entrance into the structure was actually on the opposite side, and there are a few possible locations. There looks to be the remains of some crude steps around here, and there is also this paved area higher up, which may indicate there was some kind of grand entrance or walkway, and you entered the enclosure through its roof, which, as we can see, is at ground level in this area. Now, I'm not one to dismiss any hypothesis, unless there is some truly compelling evidence against it. But with the work that's been done by Kevin this week, I'm now pretty much sold on the idea that the large enclosure at Karahantepe did have a roof, because I do think it makes a lot of sense. Did it look exactly like this? Of course we don't know. There are many variables to consider. We don't know if these are the precise locations of the two central pillars, as their footprints inside the enclosure are not clear. They've been placed in these two positions based on how they've fallen. That's really all we have to work with. Furthermore, so far Kevin has only added the roof beams. If the enclosure did have a roof, which I do suspect is true, we don't know if it was complete or more like a football stadium, with the perimeter benches covered up but with the centre open to the elements, maybe to let in the daylight. We also don't know precisely how the posts would have been arranged. This reconstruction is an experiment, and, as stated, I think it is showing that Karahantepe did have a roof of some kind, and I do think the beams were arranged like this. So that was part 1 of this 2-part fresh look at Karahantepe, and in part 2 I'm going to take a look at water, and the possible ways it was integrated at Karahantepe, with a strong focus on enclosures AA and AB, and this may lead to a third part. Again, please subscribe to Kevin's channel called Eslinger Art, and I've linked it below in the description, and you can see the incredible work that's been done by Kevin. And please do comment your thoughts and observations, because hopefully together we can crack at least a few of the mysteries of Karahantepe. Thank you very much for watching this episode of Ancient Architects. If you enjoyed the video, please subscribe to the channel, please like the video, and please leave a comment below. Thank you very much.